Oh, we're recording.
We're recording.
Hey.
Oh, dude.
Welcome to episode 2. This is the Basket Cases podcast, the very second episode. I'm Kevin Henderson, your host, and along my side is
Zach Bozeman. Before I was interrupted by Kevin Henderson, but he's the man of the hour, so, I got to just, be the sidekick here.
We are the men of the hour. We are both going to be with you, the listener, for the next 60 minutes-ish.
Ish.
So thanks for joining us. Welcome back. If you have checked out the episode or the show before, the debut episode was last week, and this is the second episode of the Basket Cases podcast. I'm excited for you to hear what we have to share with you today. For the first-time listeners, we're an LA-based sports podcast. We're going to get to lots of Lakers and NBA talk, some NFL talk, and some goofy stuff too. So we've got a lot to get to today, and if you have any thoughts, be sure to hit up the show at basketcasesla@basketcasespodcast.com if you want to shoot us an email, or on Twitter at basketcasesla. And
or if it's not a constructive thought, just keep it to yourself.
Yeah, let's be constructive. Don't waste anybody's time here. So anyway, let's get right to it. The Lakers finally got a W against the Brooklyn Nets the other night. Byron Scott mixed up the rotations, and Larry Nance got some minutes, and Metta World Peace got some minutes and made a big difference with his defense. And, well, it's a W, but the Nets suck, so take it for what it's worth.
And I think the Lakers started playing better when Byron Scott shaved his mustache.
Did he shave his mustache?
Did he?
I don't think you're just making stuff up, man.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to put ideas in people's heads that they can't help but run with,
That's the idea. It's a show. We can do whatever we want. It's just for entertainment.
He definitely shaved.
Lakers got spent lots of time making isolation baskets, and that's basically the way the season has been going so far. They need to make easier ones, but that was enough for Brooklyn, because let's get on to the news of the day. It is Sunday, and earlier today, the Lakers played again against the Knicks, and they lost 99-95. Break down the box score a little bit with you. Kobe had 32 minutes in what may have been his last game at Madison Square Garden. He finished with 18 points. He took 10 three-pointers, which is an ongoing issue I'm having with Kobe this year. He's making 2 out of his 10, shooting 6 for 19 from the field. And the only other bright spot really for the Lakers was maybe Roy Hibbert, I guess. He finished with 18 points and made 8 out of 10 free throws, 5 out of 9 from the field. Other than that, nothing really stands out too much on the stat sheet for me except for minutes, because that's what everybody wants to talk about right now is the Lakers' minutes. Byron Scott's rotations. Is Julius Randle, is Jordan Clarkson, is D'Angelo Russell getting enough minutes in their young careers? So we're going to talk more about the Lakers' minutes as we go on, but let's just talk about this game against the Knicks. It was Kobe's final game at the Garden, most likely. He started the game off wearing long sleeve shooting shirt for some reason underneath his jersey. Kind of not something you see from Kobe every day, and he decided to get rid of it for the second half. I just thought that was unusual. But he had a good first quarter. He came out with good energy. His legs looked much better. No, I'm telling you, man, his legs looked much better. That's one thing that was encouraging. I don't know if it's going to be a ongoing thing where he's going to continue to get better legs, or if it was just he's old, today was a good day, and next day he might be exhausted. It's tough to tell. You're hoping for the best, but Kobe's definitely looked rough to start the season, but he did have better legs, at least to start the game against the Knicks. He finished the first quarter with 3 out of 5 field goals, but again, 7 points in the first quarter, finished with 18 points, and ended up shooting a lot of three-pointers and missing most of them. It was fun to watch Kristaps Porzingis, the New York Knicks high draft pick. He was impressive. He has a smooth stroke. He's 7'3". He's agile. He didn't have a terrific game. He finished with 12 points off of a 3 of 10 shooting and 1 out of 3 from three-point land. But I was more impressed just to see how agile he was. He was a fluid player and definitely has a smooth shooting stroke. And at 7'3", he can pretty much shoot over anybody he wants to. So he's a young player, has good competitive spirit, and I think he's gonna. I was impressed. It was my first time actually watching a full Knicks game this season, so I was excited to watch what Porzingis brought to the table. D'Angelo Russell was looking much more confident for the Lakers. he definitely was asserting himself just a little more on the offense. Maybe still not as much as most Laker fans would like to see, but I liked him pulling up and finishing those jump shots off the picks. Lots of screens were set for him. He was reading the screen, getting enough space just to get his shot off, and he actually knocked a couple of them down, which was nice to see if you're a Laker fan. Julius Randle and Jordan Clarkson, I feel like they just need to assert themselves a little more. It's tough because the minutes are just an interesting thing. The Lakers are trying to figure out a way to balance minutes for their young players while still seemingly trying to keep some sort of goal of winning the games and keeping the veterans happy. And I just don't know if that is really something that can happen, at the same time. It's a unique situation.
Well, they're lucky that the young players are the ones that they've got for sure. I think because like all they show is potential.
Well,
but
go ahead.
No, I don't. I agree with you for sure. It's like it's one of those you have to kind of meet halfway. Well, you still want to win games, but you're trying to exercise the young cats too.
Well, I don't know. Do we have to meet halfway? That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I don't really know because there's a lot of talk with the Lakers about. For instance, I hear John Ireland on ESPN Radio constantly talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder a few years ago when Westbrook and Durant, played all these minutes and they lost they lost a vast majority of the games that season, and they came back the next season and they were a formidable opponent for everybody around the league. And so you think, well, okay, those guys were just playing 40 minutes a game, 30 minutes a game, whatever the case may be, just significant minutes, and they were known to be the team's future, and thusly they got all the shots. And so they might have lost games, but they were getting valuable learning time on the floor. With Clarkson and Russell and Randall, particularly D'Angelo Russell, you wonder, is he getting enough minutes right now? Because on one hand, you can kind of tell they're trying to ease him into the season. You can tell he doesn't have quite an NBA body just yet. He's definitely easing himself into games too. He's not really attacking as much as you'd like to see, and so you wonder, is he ready for for NBA ball? Do we just need to hope that he continues to get the minutes that Kevin Durant and Westbrook got in their early formative years, and just kind of learn the hard way? Don't be afraid to just get blown out, but just take the time on the court to learn.
Right.
It's kind of a unique situation with Russell, but I did like what I started to see more from him today in the game against the Knicks. Additionally, I like Tarek Black playing some good screen and roll defense. He was just showing on the screen, but he's limited offensively though, so defense is just going to be a struggle for the Lakers no matter what, because they just don't have the personnel, in my opinion. The young kids are going to learn, and they'll get better as their careers go on. But if you're having to rely on Tarek Black to get some good pick and roll D, it's going to be a little disconcerting. But Metal World Peace brought a great spark to the Lakers in the fourth quarter. He knocked down some shots, but then basically the story of the game was just the Lakers went ice cold in the last 6 minutes of the game. Ice cold. So a little more on the Lakers. I'm just going to go through some more notes I had. All week long, I was hearing so much on the radio about just D'Angelo Russell overreaction. And the reason why people are reacting so unfavorably is because basically the only argument that I hear is that the difference between Russell and any other pick the Lakers have, including Jordan Clarkson from last year or Julius Randle, is because Russell is the number 2 overall pick. That's a big deal because when Laker fans think of other notable high picks, they think of James Worthy and Magic Johnson.
Oh yeah, them.
Yeah, just those guys. And so that's the reason why they just want to hold Russell to such a high standard. But that brings me into something. First, I want to make a quick correction from last week. I said that Magic was Rookie of the Year at the beginning of Rookie of the Year in his rookie season in '80. But that we all know that was Larry Bird. But the point was just that Magic was born to play, I was saying, and that he still won Finals MVP that year. So. And it was still a pretty debatable argument at the time between Larry Bird and Magic winning MVP that year. But I want to kind of tie that into the whole D'Angelo Russell comparisons. Magic came into the league, and he had teammates such as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was the MVP of the league that year, Jamal Wilkes, who's a Hall of Famer, Michael Cooper, Norm Nixon, and they went to the finals and won the championship that year. D'Angelo Russell is not coming onto a team with the league MVP. He's not coming onto a team with multiple Hall of Famers. Kobe is a Hall of Famer, but clearly well beyond his prime. Not an MVP level player right now like Kareem was at the time when Magic came into the league. So just drawing all these comparisons to D'Angelo Russell to Magic and James Worthy and just all the high picks of even the current draft class. That's not the way it works that's not the way it's going to work with Russell this season. He's 19 years old and he's acting like it. He plays like a 19-year-old with some incredible talent, but 19-year-old as far as it's his first time in the big dance.
But his hair and his eyebrows always look good.
He's not afraid of the spotlight. I'll give him credit for that. But
yeah, I'm just busting chops anyway. I'm excited to see what he does.
But I'm just frustrated by the fact that so many people are so down on him. 5 games, 6 games into his NBA career, he's 19 years old playing on a bad team.
Look, people like that don't email us or call here because
no, please do, because we'll discuss. We'll
make fun of you. Well, I will.
There you go. Zach will make fun of you.
That's why I'm here.
And I'm here to talk anything you want to talk about. So bring it on.
Kev's the man.
But just watching D'Angelo Russell, don't just look at the stat sheet. Like when I look at a player, there's so many things that I look at. I like to look at probably the most important, the decisions that they're making on the court. But what skills do they have? How athletic are they? How competitive are they? And stats are a way to figure out your opinion about a player. But just stats are just not the only way. And right now the biggest stat, if you want to look at one, is just minutes. The kid's gonna need time, so I just don't feel like people need to keep overreacting. But I'm not trying to be just a Homer Laker fan. There are some things I'd like to see from D'Angelo. I like his passing ability. You can really see it in transition and when he gets picks set for him. But I'd like to see him attack and get into the paint. Russell Westbrook's leading the NBA in assists right now. Why? Because he gets into the paint as easy as anybody in the league. He gets into the paint, kicks it out, finds somebody for a layup in the paint off a dive. Whatever it is, penetration creates assists. And if you're the point guard, and
that's what she said.
Give me an assist. That's hot.
It's hot after some penetration.
Sorry,
Mom.
There you go. So, sorry to a lot of people. So, I'd just like to see D'Angelo get into the paint a little bit more. It's a matter of creating targets versus just hitting existing targets. He if somebody cuts, he finds them. But he needs to start being the guy creating the target.
And just because you were talking about Westbrook earlier, it's like D'Angelo Russell is not, I don't know, hungry like that.
That's their thing too. Like
Westbrook is fired up.
That's a great point too. I have something I want to say about that. He keeps talking about trying to find his niche. That's a word that I keep hearing D'Angelo Russell use, is niche. And he's trying to find his niche while still kind of like looking cool. He's always got that just kind of mellow look on his face, like he's not super like it doesn't bother him no matter what happens, one way or the other. He's not bothered out there. He's unaffected. And Laker fans think competing is the coolest thing to look at. Not just looking cool, but actually competing is what is cool to Laker fans, because we've been spoiled by Kobe for so long. So, I think that's kind of where you're going with that. You'd like to see a little more fire from the kid,
especially someone who's so hyped up. It's
right.
Like a young upcoming, like where he was picked.
Right.
Because I think the world is more about that now. It's like it's more about hype than ever, because now we have all this access to stats and information right at our fingertips, where it's kind of like you almost just forget to just watch the kid play.
Exactly.
Because people are too wrapped up in what he's supposed to be. Or it's like he's just a fucking
go for it.
He's just a 19-year-old kid, man. He's young. He's working it out. He's just out of high school. He's drafted the NBA. He's playing with the big dogs, and he needs a couple of years to to get his feet wet.
Yeah,
he's
a small guard. He's a small guard. Big guys come into the league, and if they're a really talented player, they can be a little more effective. Yeah. It's very, very, very rare that you're going to get a guard come into the league as a rookie against the loaded Western Conference point guards. I mean, Westbrook, Chris Paul. I mean, just go up and down the list. Tony Parker, even. I mean, all the savvy veterans like Tony Parker still can play. Run circles around D'Angelo.
Tony Parker's got the right to just look cool and just kill it. Anyway, we.
Speaking French and woo everybody. But so anyway, I'd like to see D'Angelo create some passes. I'd like to see him, improve his shot, which he looked a little better with against the Knicks. But he only had 28 minutes against the Knicks. So it's tough to get a rhythm when you're not playing, 40 minutes a game and you're just learning the NBA game essentially. But he's young, so he'll, in his words, find his niche. Just give it time, Laker fans.
He's not gonna do jack for like 2 years, probably.
Right. And the other thing too, this is just like a kind of random side note thought that I had, but Russell and Randall both being left-handers, I think is kind of a cool thing for the Lakers. It's hard to guard left-handed players sometimes. I mean, sometimes if you're a smart defensive player, you know how to eat up their left hand, but generally speaking, your body is always like tuned for guarding right-handed players just because that's what you're guarding most of the time as a defensive player. So I think it kind of gives the defense a different look as the Lakers go forward with Russell and Randall as cornerstones for their future. But anyway, a couple more points about the Lakers. I know some people don't want to hear about the Lakers all the time, but this is an LA-based show, so that's the way it's going to be. The Lakers have the most fans. So do you think that the Lakers' strengths of like their individual players are opposing forces with each other's ages, like as far as like the pace of play that they want to play? So for instance, like if Jordan Clarkson and D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle all are young, good players in transition and they want to run up and down, but players like Roy Hibbert or thrive in a slower paced game where they can clean up offensive rebounds. Kobe should really just be posting up and just shooting turnaround jumpers and using his footwork to get shots, in my opinion, not jacking up threes. I feel like that's a part of the problem with the Lakers. They don't know how they want to play. And as far as Kobe, I feel like he just needs to start listening to his body. I think that's one of the more advanced things you can do. And it's going to be a difficult thing for him because he's always been a guy who can ignore his body. That's what's so amazing about it, his mental fortitude when he's out there playing. But he's at an age now where his mind cannot overcome matter. His body can't handle it anymore.
Right.
So he needs to start, in my opinion, just using his mind to play the game and start leading his team.
He's relying more on his mind than his body because
he's always been a lead by
player.
Yeah, he's always been a lead by example kind of guy. He says, "Look what I can do, so come do it with me." And now he's at the point where he's going to say, "No, this is all I can do, but let me show you how to make our team better." He's just got to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then my last point on the Lakers, and then we'll move on, is just again more overreaction. This time on the account of Byron Scott. So many people are just trying to throw Byron to the dumps right now. First of all, let me just say this. Last year doesn't even count, all right? Byron Scott had a bunch of D-League players and a completely injury-depleted roster. There was no cohesion on the floor, and that was not his fault. That was because everybody that was in the game was trying to get points and fill up the stat sheet so they can get a contract in the NBA for next season. So Byron's essentially coached just like 6 games right now. So I don't want to hear. I just don't want to hear fire Byron. It's unnecessary. There's, like I said, D-League players and injuries last year. This year he's trying to find that balance that I keep talking about between Kobe's last season, getting some wins and not just being a complete loser apparently, and then trying to compare, contrast, and figure out the way to go with the rookies versus the vets and which style of basketball to play. Now, if you had a team with a coach that had a system in place for multiple years, like Greg Popovich, who knew exactly what his roster was going to be and exactly how they were going to react in his system, that'd be one thing. But right now we got a bunch of rookies and we're trying to build and start a foundation. And Byron doesn't know yet, just to be frank. Like, he doesn't know yet. That's why he's changing his rotations. That's why Larry Nance and World Peace are getting some minutes, and you haven't seen much from Bass or Huertas or
And Larry Nance is killing it too.
Well, that's just the thing. He's coming in and,
from what I saw.
He's putting some energy. He's running around. He's knocking down a couple open shots every now and then. He's playing really good defense. He's basically just bringing some enthusiasm and life into the team, and I feel like they thrive when they play faster. So anyway, let's get out of the Lakers. That's it. We're 2 weeks into the season. Everybody just needs to relax. It's an 82 game plan because this year is not about what we can achieve this year as far as wins and losses. It's just not. It can't be, because if you make it about wins and losses, then you're going to ignore all the other good that can come from this season. Just straight up.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's enough for the Lakers. The Clippers lost to Houston last night, Saturday. James Harden went completely nuts. He had 46 points. At the end of the game, it was pretty hilarious. The sideline reporter / announcer guy for the Rockets asked James Harden about the last question he kind of asked him about finally finding his rhythm in his game, and James Harden just kind of rolled his eyes like, man, I never lost my game. Are you kidding me? These chumps behind me was just starting knocking down some shots or something. But it was pretty funny. But the Clippers lost, but granted, they had no Chris Paul, who sat out with a groin injury, so the Clippers are an interesting team because I have high expectations for them this year just because this has got to be the year for them. They've got to do something with the additions they added to their bench. And I don't know if they're going to. The Warriors are a wrecking crew. But the Clippers and the Warriors are tied, I think, for shooting percentage, at least as of yesterday. But the one difference in offense is the Clippers just struggle mightily from behind the arc. The Warriors hit threes. And I think that ultimately will be the difference in those two teams as the season progresses. But there you go. The Clippers lost a couple tough games this week to a couple tough opponents, and Chris Paul's out, so we'll see how long the groin keeps him out. But that brings me on to the Warriors, who just continue to be so impressive. They won by 50 against the Grizzlies on Monday, 119-69. That was earlier this week, and it was absurd. Then they had a tough road win against the Kings on Saturday. The Kings competed well, even without Darren Collison or DeMarcus Cousins. Rondo had another triple-double, so he just continues to excel as far as triple-doubles are concerned. It's nice to see Rondo playing good ball again. But as far as the Warriors go, I just don't understand Steph Curry's excellence. I don't understand it because I've never seen a guy be able to shoot so well in my entire life. And it really makes me I try to figure stuff out that I don't get.
You're right.
And I wonder, is there something about the size of his hands, the size of his shoes? Is there something about his exact speed of his release?
Maybe he sold his soul to the devil.
Maybe he did that. And then that's why he has to point up every single time he makes a shot. Maybe that's what he's like, please forgive me, but man, that shot was pretty.
Please forgive me. Or, hey, I could have gone with you, but you don't get me buckets.
It's really incredible. So anyway, and then another team, like I said, Memphis lost to the Warriors by 50, and that got me to thinking about Memphis. This looks like Memphis is kind of losing their way. They were dominated by the Warriors. They lost to Utah over the weekend, who's a team on the rise, but nonetheless, Memphis is typically a team that you would think would be able to handle Utah. And remember, Memphis was blown out in their home opener against the Cavs. I thought that was peculiar at the time, and now I'm seeing as their season has gone on, it's kind of interesting. Nobody on their entire team is averaging more than 15 points a game. I believe their leading scorer is Mike Conley with 13.5 a game. Rebounds, Zach Randolph's getting 8.9 a game. They don't really have a lot of 3-point shooting. It's just kind of unusual to see the Grizzlies playing like this, but maybe they'll put it together before the end of the year. But the West is kind of interesting right now. The Thunder are just 4-3. Westbrook and Durant are kind of having to do everything for everybody. And the Pelicans are in last place in the Western Conference, 0-6, and everybody thought Anthony Davis.
5, 4, 3.
It's halftime.
2,
It's halftime.
1.
Totally unnecessary.
All right, everybody.
All right, it's time to take a break.
It's time to take a break. I just ranted on basketball for a long time, and I'm almost done. But right now, it's not about basketball because it's halftime.
It's about whatever we want.
It's about whatever we want it to be. So, for today's halftime, I don't know. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Things are going good. I mean, my car broke down tonight. Had to get it towed home.
That's
rough.
rough.
But life happens. But, I got a nice young lady sticking around now, and things are good.
Sweet.
Got the show rolling. My man, how are you, man? How's the weekend?
Weekend was good, man. Pretty productive. I got the house all organized, and I'm tired because it's late, but it's all good.
It is
Worked
all
on
good.
the show. It was pretty chill. I got a pretty mellow week ahead of me, so I was just trying to get all my I's dotted and T's crossed this weekend so I could just enjoy.
Dot your lowercase J's.
Yeah, all those good things.
Sure.
So anyway, for halftime, I had a couple of things to talk about. Donald Trump was on SNL this weekend, and it was the best ratings the show has seen in 3 years. So he gets
that show
attention.
sucks now.
Maybe that
I'm
may
not
be
saying
true.
Donald Trump sucks, but
He may or may not. But
Well.
the point being, he gets ratings.
yes.
I had another story I want to talk about. That was just, something interesting. Donald Trump, he's everywhere. I saw a story on the Huffington Post actually I saw it on multiple outlets, talking about Starbucks changing their drink cups for the holiday season.
How dare they?
I'll just read a couple excerpts so that I don't screw this up. But the article says, some Christians are extremely unhappy about Starbucks' new holiday cups, and it's by Hillary Hansen of the Huffington Post. It says, in previous years, Starbucks' iconic holiday cups, which the chain uses in lieu of white cups in November and December, featured wintry and Christmas-themed designs like snowflakes, ornaments, and nature scenes. This year, the cups are more minimalist. A red arm design that Jeffrey Fields, Starbucks vice president of design, said was meant to embrace the simplicity and the quietness of the holiday season. So,
Sounds nice and warm and reasonable.
So this is where it gets interesting, though. There's a group, UK-based organization called Christian Concern, that said this is a denial of historical reality and the great Christian heritage behind the American dream that has so benefited Starbucks. So what are they talking about? So the article goes on to kind of say, well, is a winking snowman or a dog sledding, for instance, more Christian than a plain red and green, Christmas colors cup?
I think they should just put Jesus on every Starbucks cup.
Just to make everybody happy. Well, I mean, the new cups are just a red cup with the green Starbucks logo, essentially, and a white lid. So they're very, very simple looking.
I don't think, and I'm not trying to be offensive. I think just those crazy Christian people, not all, obviously not
No,
all
it's not all Christian
We're not talking,
people.
we're
It's
talking
just
about a
this one
specific
group of people.
But they'll be happy.
It's
And then
the
the people who want their
UK-based
coffee at
organization.
6 in the morning aren't going to care because they're like, put Jesus on it. I just got my coffee.
Well, this isn't even where this stops, though. This thing got the only reason I brought it up is because I couldn't believe it got this big. So now it became like this war on Twitter, and people are trying to start like this viral thing of like pranking Starbucks by like they'll come in and be like, "Oh, my name is Merry Christmas," so that the barista or whatever the person at the register has to write Merry Christmas on the Starbucks card. On the Starbucks cup. And then making people like hashtag it on Twitter, Merry Christmas Starbucks. And then like the conspiracy theorists out there started to say, well, maybe this is some big marketing scheme by Starbucks. Can't imagine that many people would actually be this outraged over a cup changing its decorations. So
I wonder, because
just a fascinating story. So tell me, are you offended by Starbucks having less snowmen and snowflakes on their cups? Does it offend you? You are to your very core.
Because I really enjoy as much stimulation as I can, and if I don't have enough art on my cups, then the coffee just doesn't taste as good.
There you go.
But that one group of people that they should just shut up about it.
Our boy RZA had some violence in his in his house this weekend.
Some violence up ahead.
RZA, 2 people were stabbed at RZA's house over the weekend. Apparently, he had his children who were of age were having a party, and RZA was not at his own home at the time, and 2 people were stabbed. So I wonder how RZA felt about that.
Yo, man, my son want to get down, you know what I'm saying? Nah, man, everything gonna be nice be coming out and shit. It ain't no good, man.
RZA, what do you think about violence, though? Like, what do you think about the stabbing happening at your homes? 2 people were stabbed at your house.
Yo, man, it's a horrible thing, man. Obviously,
what should we do about the violence?
Shit, about the violence.
So anyway, hopefully everybody within the RZA household has a recovery and nobody died. So one more article for a halftime. Toyota's investing $1 billion in an artificial intelligence company to start up in Silicon Valley early next year. And the idea is to invest in like things like cars driving themselves. How do you feel about cars driving themselves?
cars driving themselves. I mean, I have opinions on both sides. I feel like if obviously I'm more with the whole. I've heard ideas of people building cars where, you know, if they're going to be in an accident, they stop or something. I don't know. There's a good and bad to everything. Like the silent cars, the Priuses and this and that. There's nothing good about a car being silent. Mm-hmm. You want to hear a car.
Right.
So you kind of want to control a car too. You don't want it just to drive you everywhere.
Like, to me, you'd have to have them. It's like all or nothing almost. Like, I have a feeling it's going to be tough for, you know, piloted cars versus autopiloted cars to coexist, it seems like.
That's the thing. Like, I just can't even. I get the idea, and I do think it's cool, but I can't fathom how, like autopilot cars and people.
But imagine, like, what if it worked? Like, what? Just imagine a world where, like, you could just get in your car in the morning and just, like, sit down and eat your breakfast and just chill and, like, not think at all, and everybody else could do the same thing. Wouldn't that be awesome if just every car just was automatically just taking you on a grid just to where you wanted to go and you could just relax?
That would be awesome, and that's the direction I hope it takes. But
that'll take like 50. It feels like it'll take like 100 years.
Yeah, though. I don't think it'll be in our lifetime.
Watch, like, in 5 years. That's the way it's gonna be. It's gonna be sweet. Last thing I wanted to mention for halftime was I'm a big MMA guy. I like the UFC. Zach, you like the UFC, right?
I like the UFC.
Yeah, we're not like hardcore fans, but I watch the big fights because I think it's some of the best entertainment there is. And this article, another one from the HuffPost Sports page by Justin Block, says that the article is called "Despite All the Blood, MMA is Actually Safer Than Boxing." And it goes on to talk about MMA fighters may be more likely to experience minor but visible injuries like bruises or contusions, but they're less likely to receive injuries that matter long term. You know, from things like concussions or head trauma or unconsciousness, you know, or broken bones or anything like that. So they did a study in, I think it was Canada, in Edmonton, Canada, where they surveyed 1,181 MMA fighters and 550 boxers, but from 2003 to 2013. And 59.4% of the MMA fighters and 49.8% of the boxers suffered some form of injury during their bout, which makes sense. They're in the hospital. A slightly higher percentage of MMA fighters. However, 7.1% of boxers lost consciousness or suffered serious eye injuries compared to 4.2% of MMA fighters. So, and they said additionally, boxers were significantly more likely to receive post-bout medical suspensions for their injuries. So the bottom line is they're both blood sports, and don't do them if you want to be safe. But if you're gonna jump on board, jump on the UFC, because one, it's more entertaining, and two, it's slightly less dangerous to the contestants.
And you get all the chicks.
There you go.
Yes.
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 So that's all that I have for halftime today. Did you have anything else that you wanted to get off your chest, or are you totally straight with it, yo?
I'm pretty straight right now. I mean, I don't have anything that, besides my own personal stuff that no one really wants to hear about, at least yet.
Well, that's cool.
Running through the mind too much. I don't want to bore anybody.
All right, well, don't bore anybody. Well, then then just stop talking, dude.
Well, fine.
I'm just kidding.
Problem solved.
I don't want to bore anybody, so I'll just keep my mouth shut, and that's more entertaining than nothing.
I like dirt and the sky.
So anyway, I was talking about the Western Conference. I want to finish up my NBA points real fast, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. So in the West, you got the Warriors leading the West at 7-0, so they're perfect, and you know Steph Curry's the golden boy. But what's interesting is how wacky these standings look. But it's funny because it's just so early in the season. But that's the reason why I wanted to point it out, just so everybody can realize that they need to chill on the Lakers and on just the seasons that all their favorite teams are having. Because Utah is second in the West at 4-2. The Spurs are 4-2. The Clippers are 4-2. Minnesota's 3-2. Houston's 4-3, and the Thunder are 4-3, and Portland's 4-3. All the way at the bottom of the division, you've got New Orleans at 0-6. And that's the one that I think is kind of interesting, just because so many expectations were put on Anthony Davis this year, but it seems just like no matter what he does, he's going to need a lot more help. So,
and a razor.
If you don't know what Anthony Davis looks like, and you're not, even if you're not the biggest basketball fan, you don't care about this stuff, and you're listening because you're just being nice to me, which I appreciate that. Google Anthony Davis right now and just look between his eyebrows and between his eyes, and you'll get exactly what Zach just said.
Wait, you're implying that there's more than one eyebrow? You just said look between his eyebrows?
Yeah, okay. I stand corrected. Look at his eyebrow and laugh.
His name is Unibrow.
So I want to get. So that's enough
we
for the
love
West.
You, Anthony Davis.
I love Anthony Davis. I really do. He seems like a nice kid and a tremendous basketball player, and he is comfortable in his skin. So
Yes.
power to him. In the Eastern Conference, I didn't want to talk about a whole lot because, again, like I mentioned last episode, it's first of all it's going to be tough for just to pay attention to everything, even with League Pass. But I just feel like the East is just a conference that's going to be a lot more wide open towards the bottom, and that makes it a little less interesting because we just kind of know who the real contenders are, whereas in the West, it could be anybody kind of. But anyway, in the East, the Bulls lost to Minnesota over the weekend, and Wiggins had a really big game. And the player I mentioned last week was Nikola Mirotic. I forgot his name. I don't know why, but I think he's one of those players that's going to thrive under the new Bulls offense. They're still trying to figure it out. But on the Bulls, I thought it was funny just listening all week to the radio thinking how much Colin Cowherd hates Derrick Rose. It's pretty hilarious. But
how do you hate Derrick Rose when he never plays?
There you go. So you and Colin would get along, seemingly.
I don't agree with him.
I know, but it was funny. So, but the thing about the Bulls, though, is I just wanted to bring up to NBA fans that are just kind of casually following is that Kirk Hinrich and Mike Dunleavy are still out. Kirk Hinrich with a toe injury, Mike Dunleavy with his back. And when those guys come back, the Bulls will get a definite boost in intelligent play, shooting, toughness. Those are two really good players. So that's something Chicago fans have to look forward to. The Cavs right now, they're 6-1. They won again today. And I was having a thought about LeBron the other day. I was thinking, I wonder if this is if this has the potential to be his best season. Now, I haven't watched enough of Cleveland games to be making this assertion by his play, but just like more so a theory. It's only a few games into the season, so I think it's okay to still shoot theories out there. But I was thinking this could be his best year because he's still he's athletic enough to completely get the job done over anybody still. He's still LeBron James. He doesn't mean he can jump as high as he could 4 or 5 years ago, but he can get up. So he's got athleticism covered. But he's at the point now where he's playing exceptional basketball. I looked up, I learned a new statistic today about, it's basically just accounts for the percentage of output your team has, what percentage that player contributes. And LeBron's right around 20%. And that's pretty high compared to a lot of other players. I think Steph Curry has one of the higher that I've seen, around 24%. But the reason I have this idea about LeBron is because he's at this age, remember, you know how Kobe, until he hurt his Achilles, it seemed like he was just defying all odds, and no matter how old he got, he kept getting better. I think LeBron is kind of right there because even as his athleticism goes, his mind and his game continues to blossom. I feel like we especially saw it last year in the playoffs, and whether he liked the style that he had to play or not, based on the way the injuries depleted his team in the playoffs last year, whether he liked it or not, I think he learned that there can be some value in being a little more assertive and just controlling and taking over a game offensively, particularly. So I'm just wondering if at some point this season, LeBron's just going to be playing such good basketball that we go, whoa, this is the best LeBron we've ever seen. And maybe when the playoffs roll around, just kind of, no, I'm not rooting for the Cavs per se or anything like that. But as a basketball fan and as somebody who has, followed the Cavs and LeBron's career, I just feel like it would be kind of cool if they kind of got over the hump this year, maybe, if LeBron was able to bring a championship to Cleveland and just play at his very best in order to do it. I think it would just be a cool thing for the history books. But I know I just made a lot of people throw up, so I'll stop talking about that.
Whatever.
So anyway, in the East, you got Atlanta still cruising. They're 7-1. Looks like they're going to have another good season. Not sure what will happen to them in the playoffs, but they have a good coach, and they play smart basketball, so that'll get you a lot of wins in the regular season. Detroit had a big win today. Reggie Jackson had 40 points, and they beat the Blazers, and Andre Drummond had 29 and 27. So he got it done today. 29 and 27 rebounds. That's insane.
27 rebounds?
Yeah, he was the bomb today. The bomb. So the Pistons are sitting pretty at 5-1. They're number 3 in the East right now. Chicago and so you got Detroit at 5-2, and then Chicago 4-3, Milwaukee at 4-3, Miami at 4-3, and Miami is the Lakers' next opponent, and they'll play on Tuesday. And then so that's enough of basketball for the basket cases today. Let's move on. We got some other good stuff to get to. Just because time is already just like getting crazy away from us right now, because we promised Strictly Hip Hop last week, I just want to do Strictly Hip Hop, and then we can get into some NFL coverage. So without further ado, it is time for Strictly Hip Hop. So for Strictly Hip Hop, I figured we could do something kind of interesting. I wanted to look up the top selling hip hop albums of all time.
Oh.
So I went and found an article from just in 2014 on Music Times by Ryan Book, and he goes over the top 10 most selling hip hop albums of all time, and I wanted to know if you could guess any of them at all.
Guess.
Now, I'll bet you can.
I bet one of them is Kanye West.
Kanye West, in my opinion, fortunately, is not represented on this list.
Thank God.
However, you won't be completely thrilled with all the names on the list either.
Let's see. Lil Wayne.
No.
Well, I know Eminem is one of them.
Eminem, there you go. Okay, Eminem it has.
That's just easy.
Now check this out. Eminem has 2 albums on this 10 list.
Wow. Slim Shady LP.
That is not on there.
Marshall Mathers LP has to be on there. That's definitely on there. And then the Eminem Show.
That's on there too. So those are the 2. You got the 2 Eminem ones. Can you name any other artists that you think will be on the list?
Dr. Dre.
No.
Best of all time, Jay-Z for sure.
No.
Really?
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Number 10. 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying.
All right. He's all right. I got more into 50 as I got older.
That album came out in 2003, and In the Club was the biggest song of 2003 according to Billboard, and that record sold 8.3 million.
Wow.
Number 9 was Country Grammar by Nelly. That sold 8.5 million copies. It came out in 2000.
I like his Band-Aid.
He's a Rams fan, so that's cool. The big song, Country Grammar. Hot shit.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
You'll be happy with number 8 at least. Well, at least semi-happy. Licensed to Ill by the Beastie Boys.
Oh, yeah.
9 million.
That's historic.
Yeah.
86, baby.
86. It's the only 80s album that made the list.
Yeah. I don't think that shouldn't be the case, but it's the way it is. And I'm just glad it made it there at all because
number 7.
Kerry King's on that album.
Yes, he is. From Slayer. Number 7 is All Eyes on Me by Tupac.
Okay.
Came out in 95. Sold 9 million copies.
All Eyes on Me.
Number 6 is also Tupac.
Oh, yeah?
And number 6 is a greatest hits album, and it sold 10 million albums in 1998. And he's the only artist, other than the Eagles, to have a greatest hits album outsell all their original LPs. Interesting little factoid there.
Who is that?
Tupac.
Oh, that is Tupac. Okay,
Yeah.
so he's got 3 records on there?
No, 2.
My bad. All Eyes on Me and then the greatest hits one?
Correct.
Cool. I'm not going to go there.
Number 5 is MC Hammer. Please, Hammer, don't hurt him.
I like You Can't Touch This. I'm sorry. I like that song, but like one of the top selling records of all time.
You were thinking it came out in the 80s too, but it came out 2 months into 1990.
No, I know it came out in 90.
Not you, but the listeners.
Okay.
I know you know your stuff.
Oh, you know.
Can't trick you. I'm just gonna keep playing this because it's fun.
Oh, and by the way, if you can write to us and tell us what this beat is right now, we'll probably give you nothing, but maybe we'll give you a shout out on the next show.
You might gather something from the name of the segment. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Number 4 is Life After Death by Biggie. That sold 10.2 million records. It was released in 97, but that was just 2 weeks after his death, so that was a lot of buzz, obviously, at the time.
Definitely.
Everybody wanted another little more Biggie after he was gone.
Rest in peace.
Number 3, aforementioned Eminem Show by Eminem sold 10.3 million in 02, and his sophomore album, the Marshall Mathers LP, sold 10.5 million records in 2000, and he is the greatest selling rapper of all time, which is mind-boggling.
Right.
But he's amazing. So, the number 1, that's where we're left. Can you guess the number 1 selling hip hop album of all time?
I don't think I could guess. Should I guess?
You'll never guess.
Never guess.
You'll never guess.
The number 1 best hip hop album or best selling hip hop album of all time. I don't even want to guess.
Number 1 is by Outkast, and it is Speakerboxx / The Love Below, and it sold 11.4 million copies thanks to Hey Ya. That is the reason why it is on this list at number 1.
Okay.
So if Strictly Hip Hop depressed you this week, we apologize, and hopefully it'll get better next week.
Better and better.
Because that's a rough list.
Yeah. But that's the way it is. You got to condense it down.
That's
always
just 10
wrong.
Just what the people buy isn't always where the best can be found.
That's not our top 10 list, by the way, as you all know.
No, it's not. So let's get into some football real quick, and if we have time, we'll play a quick game because I want to play a quick game. Today was a really good day in NFL football. The Packers and the Panthers. Actually, let's not start with that. Let's start with the Cowboys and Eagles. That was the most recent game. 33-27, Eagles win in overtime. The Cowboys fell to 2-6, and the Eagles got a big divisional win to go 4-4. And the Cowboys are just struggling without Romo. And falling to 2-6 is not good news, even in that weak division. That might have just cost them their season. So we'll see. That was a big loss for them. The Broncos and the Colts faced each other, and the Colts started the game. They were up 17-0, and they just barely held on 27-24. The Broncos fell to 7-1, and the Colts improved to 4-5. So that was a nice win for them. The Packers and the Panthers played. It was a valiant comeback by the Packers, but Rodgers struggled with that Carolina defense most of the day. And he threw that last interception around the 2-minute mark, and that was it for the Packers. Carolina improves 8-0, and the Packers fall to 6-2. The final score was 37-29 there. Raiders and the Steelers played a good game. Landry Jones filled in at quarterback after the fourth quarter hit. Alden Smith put on Ben Roethlisberger, who left with a left foot injury. There was a huge play with just under a minute to go by Antonio Brown, who had a full day of huge plays. He finished with 284 receiving yards and 17 catches and set a Steelers franchise record with those numbers. My Rams lost to the Vikings 21-18 in overtime. Teddy Bridgewater left with a head injury. He was he was unconscious on the field after a late hit by LaMarcus Joyner, so that was kind of rough to see. The Patriots continued to roll, beating Washington 27-10, and they're still undefeated. And the 49ers benched Colin Kaepernick, and they beat the Falcons 17-16. Finally, in the NFL, the Browns and the Bengals won 31-10, and they're still 8-0. And that makes me wonder, who's going to be the first of the undefeateds to lose. So I think that's going to be our Twitter question today. I'll mention that at the end of the show. But let's play a game because I think it'll be fun, and then we'll close this sucker out.
Close it on a fun run.
Now, are you ready to play the game? You want to play that game? Back in the game now. Are you ready?
So like I said at halftime, Donald Trump was on SNL, and so I just thought, that sounds like a game.
Very fun.
Donald Trump, you can make a game out of just about anything. So here's the game that I thought of, and it's just basically for you to play and for me to just read.
Right on.
We can only get so clever with these games that we sit on a couch and talking to a microphone with. So
right. We're going to have new ones almost every week, so you got to bear with us here.
This game is called Did Donald Trump Say This? There's 5 things on this page I have in front of me. I'm going to read them to you, and you're going to tell me whether or not he said them. So, did Donald Trump say this? Number 1, people think I'm controversial, but the truth is, I'm a nice guy.
He said that.
He did say that. Donald Trump did say that. He actually just said that in the SNL monologue.
I knew it.
Number 2, Canada has beautiful people, but they aren't Americans. We have borders for a reason.
Well, I'm just going to say he did say that because I can imagine him saying something like that, but I don't know if he said that. I'm just going to say yes.
Say it in Donald Trump. Canada has beautiful people.
Canada
They're so beautiful. So beautiful.
They're so beautiful.
So beautiful.
My Trump. I got to work on my Trump.
No, he did not say that. I
They're
made
so
that one up. We have borders for a reason. No, he didn't say that one. Stay in your own yard, Canada. All right, so number 3, all of the women on The Apprentice flirted with me, consciously or unconsciously. That's to be expected.
I'm just going to say he said that.
He did say that one.
It's to be expected. He's
That's
a
to be
businessman.
expected.
He knows people. He knows how to make money.
He knows
He knows how to lose money too and then make it back.
Yeah. Number 4. One of the key problems today is that politics is such a disgrace. Good people don't go into government.
I don't think he said that.
He absolutely said that.
See, I should just not trust myself and just guess.
Just give me credit for making a good game.
No. I mean, yeah, it's not about me. I'm just saying.
I'm just joking.
Part of me is like, oh, I bet he said that.
It's
and
about
I said,
you. You're
no.
playing.
I know. I'm losing. Well,
All
I'm 2
right.
for 2.
Are you ready for the grand
I'm
finale?
2 for 4.
You ready for the number 5,
Number
the final
5.
one?
Yes.
We didn't keep score, so I don't know if you won or lost. Not that we set a bar anyway. That's what's fun about our games. They don't matter.
Oh, I thought that was a quote. I was saying, I'm just
No,
going to
no,
say
no, no,
screw
no,
it.
no,
He
no.
didn't say that.
No, sorry. Number 5. Number 5. I thought about making money, and I made money. I thought about being president, and I thought, I could do that. You have to think. Did Trump
Can
say
he just
that?
please have said that? Can I just go home now? I'm just kidding.
He did not say that.
No, he didn't. Where are you getting these things from?
You lost that one.
I did.
I made that one up.
Nice.
So that was Donald Trump for the day. That was funny, I thought.
It was funny.
So real quick before we wrap up the show, I just want to talk about last week there was a controversial play in college football, Miami Duke. The question came about whether or not you should reverse a call once, or a ruling of like a win-loss, once the game has already been decided and called on the field. So here's what happened. Miami was trailing, last-minute play. They did like 100 laterals. There was 4 different times where the play should have been blown dead. You know, knee down, elbow down, illegal lateral, whatever it was. There were several. I watched the play. It was ridiculous. It looked like the Three Stooges out there playing football. But they, ultimately they scored, and a touchdown was ruled, and they won the game. Now, in the week since, the officials got suspended for 2 games for allowing that play to go on. But I heard Colin Cowherd. I heard a lot of, noteworthy commentators saying, "Oh, they should reverse the call. The game shouldn't be decided by that play, and it was the last play of the game. And you fix things all the time in society, so fix that call." But I feel like it's a slippery slope, though. I don't disagree that it was an absurd ruling to allow that play to stand, but I don't know if you can start just changing the results after the fact, because, don't want to talk about it, but straight up, what about all the people that bet on the game?
Yeah. My opinion is straight up, don't do it.
Yeah, I think it's just a bad call. It's
so wimpy. It's so like let's backtrack it and make
it's well, the reason it's frustrating is because everybody can see things. They have a million different camera angles at home. Everybody can tell within 2 seconds whether or not the play should have been ruled a touchdown or not, whether or not they should have won the game or not. And so that's the reason why it's difficult. You feel like, man, we should just have like officials call the games from a booth upstairs with a television set. You feel like they'd get it. Get it. But at the same time, it's like there's so much that you would miss. There's so much more responsibility that the official has than just calls. You know what I mean? They have to keep the game itself in check, basically.
Well, now they're at the point where they have to worry about, whether or not they care, they have to worry about being harassed about doing a recall or taking a call back, or like we're just talking about, where it's like now that that's even an option, the fact that game over, they won, but oh wait, maybe we should change it. It's like, some officials have to be thinking about that and probably a little stressed out about it, because it's like, even if they're stand by their opinion, they're still going to get crap for it. And that's really not what the game is about. It's not about drama. It's you play the game.
Well, it's just a tough thing to do. It's tough to just change a call later.
It shouldn't be that way. But then like somebody thought of the idea, and for some reason it's like, yeah, let's do that. I don't understand.
So it's late. It's after 1 a.m. right now. We had some hiccups today, so we're gonna close this show out. But I wanted to leave you with that question I was mentioning earlier about football. If you want, you can hit the show on Twitter at BasketCasesLA, or email basketcasesla@basketcasespodcast.com. And I wanted to ask you who you think the first to lose will be of the remaining undefeated teams in the NFL. The Patriots, next opponent is the Giants, who are 5-4. The Panthers' next opponent is the Titans, who are 2-6, and the Bengals' next opponent is the Texans, who are 3-5. So it looks like all the respective undefeated teams should remain undefeated for another week based on their opponents' records, but that's the beauty of the NFL. Anything can happen. So anyway, hit up the show, let us know what you think, and thanks for tuning in to episode 2 of the Basket Cases podcast, everybody. We'll see y'all next week.
Next time. Remember, you're just a basket case.
Just a basket case. Peace.